Here's a strange psychological fact. The harder you try not to think about something, the stronger that thought becomes. Try this experiment right now. For the next 5 seconds, do not think about a white bear. Seriously, don't picture it. Don't imagine it. And yet, most people instantly see a white bear in their mind. That's not a coincidence. Psychologists discovered that the brain actually amplifies thoughts when you try to suppress them. But therapists use a surprisingly simple trick. To calm those thoughts almost instantly, takes less than 10 seconds. No meditation, no complicated technique, just one small mental shift. It's called labeling, and brain imaging studies show it can literally reduce activity in the brain's fear center. Let's break down why it works. Imagine you're about to walk into an important meeting. Your mind starts racing. What if I say something wrong? What if I forget what to say? What if people think I'm not prepared? Most people react in the same way. They try to force the thoughts away. They tell themselves, stop thinking like that. Calm down. But something strange happens. The thoughts come back, even stronger. This isn't a personal weakness. It's how the brain works. Psychologist Daniel Wegner studied this exact problem. In one famous experiment, participants were given a simple instruction. For the next few minutes, do not think about a white bear. Almost everyone failed. In fact, the more they tried to suppress the thought, the more often it appeared. Wegner called this phenomenon ironic process theory. Your brain runs two systems at the same time. One tries to remove the unwanted thought. The other constantly scans your mind to check if the thought is gone. And that monitoring system keeps bringing the thought back. So if suppressing thoughts makes them stronger, what actually works? Instead of fighting the thought, psychologists recommend something surprisingly simple. Name it. That's the entire technique. When a difficult thought or emotion appears, you pause for a moment and label the experience. For example, instead of thinking, I'm going to mess up this presentation, you say to yourself, this is anxiety, or I'm noticing a worry thought. You're not arguing with the thought. You're not trying to eliminate it. You're simply identifying it. And that small shift changes how the brain processes the experience. Researchers have actually tested this idea using brain imaging. In a study led by neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at University of California, Los Angeles, participants were shown emotionally intense images while their brains were scanned. In one condition, participants simply reacted emotionally. In another condition, they were asked to label the emotion they felt. For example, fear, anger, sadness. The results were remarkable. When people labeled their emotions, activity in the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, decreased. At the same time, activity increased in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning and emotional control. In simple terms, labeling helps shift control from the emotional brain to the thinking brain, and that shift makes the emotion feel less overwhelming. There are 3 main reasons this technique is so effective. First, labeling creates psychological distance. When you think, I am anxious, the emotion feels like part of your identity. But when you say, I'm noticing anxiety, you create a small gap between you and the feeling. That gap reduces the intensity. Second, labeling helps the brain organize the experience. The brain prefers clear categories. When you give an emotion a name, your mind processes it more efficiently. Instead of a vague wave of stress, it becomes something specific, and specific things are easier to manage. Third, labeling slows down automatic reaction. Strong emotions push us to react immediately, but labeling introduces a brief pause, and even a 1-second pause can activate the rational part of the brain. That's often enough to change how you respond. The labeling trick only takes a few seconds. Step 1. Notice the experience. Maybe your heart starts racing before a presentation. Maybe you feel irritated in traffic. Maybe you start overthinking late at night. Step 2. Label it clearly. Say it in your mind. This is anxiety. This is frustration. This is a worry thought. Step 3. Let the experience exist without fighting it. You're not trying to instantly remove the feeling. You're simply acknowledging it. And surprisingly, that acknowledgement often reduces the intensity on its own. This approach is widely used in mindfulness practices and in forms of cognitive behavioral therapy because it trains people to observe their thoughts without getting trapped inside them. Imagine you send an important email. A few minutes later, you start second-guessing yourself. Did that sound rude? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. What if they misunderstood me? Your mind begins creating a story. Instead of getting pulled deeper into the spiral, you pause and label the experience. You say, "This is an overthinking loop." That simple label reminds your brain that this is a mental pattern, not necessarily reality, and often that awareness alone breaks the cycle. Your brain produces thousands of thoughts every day. Many of them appear automatically. You can't control every thought that shows up, but you can control how you relate to those thoughts. And sometimes the most effective response is also the simplest. Pause, notice the thought, and give it a name, because the moment you label a feeling, you step out of the storm and into the role of the observer. And that small shift can make your mind far calmer than you might expect.